Teachers have to ensure that students understand the words they hear and the words they use. Why is that, do you think? Why is it so important that students understand vocabulary? I think you know the answer to this already. You know that if students don't know the vocabulary they're hearing or using, they won't understand what they're hearing, and they won't remember what they're hearing. The child who doesn't understand the terms legislative, executive, and judicial is unlikely to develop much understanding about government, let alone remember what she memorized. If you hear an unfamiliar word, you won't have the neuronal cell assemblies being activated to allow you to make sense of the word. You will attempt to use context clues, but sometimes that slows your thinking down to such an extent that you will not be able to follow and perceive what's being said. If you don't have sufficient background experience to have created neuronal webs that can be activated when you hear a word, you won't physically experience what's being said. You know when you're talking with someone and they don't understand what you're saying? You get that blank look. Insufficient neurons are firing for the person to make sense of what you're saying. Here's an example. You'll feel this. I'll say a phrase, and you monitor your reaction. Let's see if any neurons fire. Here's the phrase. He bit into the big, juicy Carl's Jr. chili burger, and warm, spicy, sloppy chili dribbled down his chin and onto his new white shirt. Anything? Well, your reaction will depend on whether or not you know what a Carl's Jr. chili burger is, or whether or not you've ever tried chili, and whether or not you've spilled food on a clean white shirt. Here's another sentence, approximately the same number of words. I've taken this from one of my philosophy books. Monitor your physical reaction. The assertion as an assertion of A of B of H is the seat of truth. In the structure of proposition, i.e. of a simple truth, we distinguished subject, predicate, and copulate, object assertion, and connective. You probably didn't feel as many neuronal webs being activated, even though I'm quite sure you're familiar with or have at least heard each one of these words in the phrase. Like the second grader, you could memorize the phrase and then write it down on Wednesday's test. However, doing so wouldn't indicate you have much understanding. And of course, we have different techniques to help students memorize, such as using acronyms or jingles or rhymes. Some people have even come to believe that they memorize items or statements better if they see them or hear them or handle them in some particular way. And that might well be the case, but as you know, memorization of statements does not equate to understanding. And if schools are in the business of educating, which we presume they are, they have to do what? They have to concern themselves with understanding. What follows next, right after this video, is a little game of sorts to show you the importance of having an understanding of vocabulary. Without understanding, our ability to remember and to learn is significantly diminished. We often say one learns to understand. However, I think you know now that we have to understand to learn. The following little game will tell us a lot about the foundations of education and schooling. It will demonstrate to you why you might be succeeding in some subjects and struggling in another. It will also show you how some school environments are responsible for student success, and others might actually be hindering student success. It will demonstrate in a very simple way a clear difference between what good teachers might be doing and what poor teachers might be doing. And it will give you another clue as to how you can be educating yourself.